Hey guys, Stu here, bringing another DKC3 103% tutorial video. Today we're going to be looking at Skidda's Row, which is the first ice level in the game. There are a few notable things to mention in this level. First, we got ice physics, obviously. Second, we have a technique they haven't seen yet called a Just Defend, and I'll explain a little bit more about that later. And then lastly, we're going to have a technique about flying when landing on a slope. And again, I'll talk a little bit more about that when we go in depth into the level. But for now, let's just watch the level play out, and I'll get back to you soon. Now that we've seen this level in its entirety, let's take a closer look. First, when you're entering the level, make sure you hold Y, right, and B. That way, when the level first loads in, you'll instantly start with a jump. This is important because we're in an ice level, and you build up your horizontal speed a little bit slower in an ice level than you do in a normal physics level. So by jumping into the air where there are no ice physics at play, we can build up to max speed sooner. So we're definitely going to start with that. As soon as I realize I've jumped, I release B, and I get a max roll. Should land me somewhere about right here. There's like a dot that Dixie's heel's on right now. That's about where I should land. Should be able to max roll from there and then fly to the top of this hill. You don't want to land on the hill if you can, because it's going to kind of slow you down. You can see how much slower she goes uphill than she does on flat surface or downhill. So we're going to try to land at the top side of the hill, get a little roll there, roll through the Kremlin, and then we're going to do a Just Defend there through this crimp. A Just Defend is a technique where even though the crimp is facing us, we're going to turn away from him as we make contact, and then after he's dead, we'll turn back to the right or the forward direction. So I like to start my roll. So from this Kremlin, we kill this Kremlin, and we're able to continue all the way to the right side of the snow pile that Dixie's on right now. This is about where I like to start my Just Defend from. The reason I like to pick a starting point is for consistency. That way I know my roll isn't going to die on me right before I make contact with the crimp. So I'm going to start my roll here, and then right before I make contact, I'm going to tap left to make sure I'm facing away, but don't hold left for too long because you'll lose too much momentum. It won't necessarily kill you, but it will be you'll lose a lot of speed. So ideally you want to wait to tap left until as late as possible. Let your momentum coast you into the crimp for the kill, and then after you get the kill, then turn back to the right to conserve the rest of your momentum. So if you're too early pressing, or if you're too late pressing left, you will die to the crimp. And if you're too late holding back to the right after you kill the crimp, then you'll lose a lot of your speed. So this is definitely something that's going to take a lot of practice to get used to. But you don't want to bypass this coin. So if you end up not liking this technique, there'd be two options. One, in the previous level, Title Trouble, my route has it where you intentionally take damage to go down to 1 Kong. If you're having trouble with this Just Defend, then I would say first try not taking damage in Title Trouble and come into this level with 2 Kong, so if you do fail the Just Defend, you don't lose the run. The other option is after you roll through this Kremlin up here, you can kind of like float the blade just slightly, and then when the crimp turns back to the right, so he's not facing you anymore, then you can go to the right and roll through him and collect the coin. So those are the two other options. I'd say first, at least give the Just Defend a chance, because there are a few other good Just Defends throughout this run. Well, like 4 or 5 of them, something like that. And this is the first one, and since it's so early in the run, I think it's worthwhile to at least practice it, get used to it. And again, we're in ice physics right now, so this is a little bit easier of a Just Defend than, say, if you were in normal physics, because you're able to slide a lot easier in this, and thus coast easier into the crimp when you're facing left. Okay, so that's enough of that. Next, I'm going to be floating to this platform. I kind of talked earlier, you don't want to deal with slopes, uphill slopes. So I kind of make sure after killing this crimp, I get a roll, and then I fly just to that corner so I don't have to deal with this mini slope. Roll through this Kremlin, and then fly over this guy, and then collect this invisible coin here. Now, this next setup is going to be very critical. It saves a quarter of a second, and it's kind of tricky, so practice it, but if you don't like it, it's okay if you want to get rid of this one from your routing. But when we collect this coin, we're going to float, and at the corner, roll, and then middle of the snow pile, we're going to roll again. So let me go back over here and showcase. So we want to make sure, after I collect the coin, I like to float. What I used to do is I used to do a jump, collect, or I used to jump to collect the coin, land, and then jump, and then roll at this corner, but my speed would sometimes be messed up. I found it way more consistent if I float to the top of this hill, and then at this corner, at this slope corner, roll through the Kremlin. Do not jump after you kill the Kremlin. Just roll all the way through. You'll get to this snow pile right here, and when you're midway through the snow pile, you're able to roll through this crimp. That setup seemed really consistent to me, and again, I think it saves like a quarter of a second. If you are having a lot of trouble and you don't like that, again, you can collect this coin, roll through the Kremlin down here, and then you get like a tiny roll, jump over the crimp, and then a tiny roll and jump into the bonus barrel up here. That's acceptable too. Again, it's not that much slower, but I would give this a try. I think this setup has proven its worth to me, so I think you guys can get it as well. And then that should take you to the first bonus. So this bonus is going to be a little bit tricky. We're going to hold Y, right, and B to start, just like we did at the beginning of the level. This will give us that jump as soon as the bonus loads in. We're going to do a max jump this time, though. Land right in front of the Kremlin, get a roll off. That should take us to the start of this downhill slope. Roll as soon as you get to this point, and you want to do a left-right wiggle really quickly after you get that roll off. That'll take you through the third Kremlin in the bonus, but it will end the roll right before the fourth one, and that gives you a very small window to press Y one more time to roll through the fourth Kremlin and right into the bonus coin. So that left-right wiggle is very critical. The slower your left-right wiggle, the less optimal this bonus is going to be. But the easier it will be to time the final Y press against the last Kremlin. The faster your left-right wiggle, the more optimal the bonus will be, but the less room you'll have to press Y at the end. So keep that in mind. But yeah, I do that max jump at the beginning so that my roll through the first two Kremlins ends me at the start of that, or ends me right at the start of the slope. I used to try to do a min jump at the start of this bonus and use these same tactics, but the problem was that a min jump, sometimes you hold B maybe for 1 frame or like 4 frames or whatever, whatever number of frames that you hold it for. It's going to be a little bit different every time because you don't know exactly when that jump is going to take effect. So it takes the brain a little bit of time to process, and that slight difference sometimes had Dixie being in slightly different spots and kind of messing up the end. So I've since opted for a max jump when using that strat. This other strat I'm going to show you, similar start, hold Y, right, and B, but do a min jump this time and roll as soon as you touch the ground. Then you're able to, again, roll through this third Kremlin, but instead of trying to roll through the last one, you're going to just jump on top of him. This is only 0.1 or 0.2 seconds slower, so it's not a huge deal, but it is a lot easier. So try out the hard way. If you're good at it, great, that's awesome. And if you're not, then this is a perfectly acceptable way too. The reason why we're able to do a min jump at the beginning with this easy method is because we're just gonna jump after killing the third Kremlin. So I don't have to worry about Dixie's positioning to set up the fourth Kremlin. So it makes that a little bit easier. And it's more ideal to do the min jump at the beginning anyways, because you get a slightly longer roll through the first two Kremlins. So that's kind of why the times end up being as close as they are, because the beginning is a little bit faster with the easier method, but the ending is a little bit faster with the other method, the hard method. So coming out of this bonus, we're gonna jump fly to the slope, and get a roll through this Kremlin right here. The fly is important, and we'll see this a little bit later on the level as well. When you fly into a slope, you're instantly able to go into a roll, whereas if you jump into a slope, you can sometimes get like a landing animation that requires you to delay a little bit before your roll goes off. So yeah, coming out of the bonus, land on the ground, jump, fly, roll through the Kremlin, and then you should be able to roll down this hill, fly, jump, fly to touch the hill, straight into a jump to bypass the rest of the slope. Should be able to get 2 rolls there, and you want to try to, on this part, if you can, roll in such a way that you're able to land on as far high as on the hut as you can. So you're gonna roll pretty deep, max jump. That way you're not going losing your momentum trying to run up this slope right here. Again, this level is all about minimizing how much time you're on the slope. So you're going to be able to roll through this guy. Since you roll through an enemy, you don't have to jump out of the roll, and you're going to be able to land go somewhere to like right here. Then you can do a little tiny roll into a jump that should land you right at the, well, I don't have the right speed anymore, but you should be able to land right into grabbing this steel barrel to kill this guy. Just a little bit of a jump. You don't even have to do a max jump. Just a little bit of a jump and throw should get that guy. I like to kind of throw it to the right and then start building my momentum to the right, assuming that it's actually gonna kill him. So then I can get like a tiny little roll off here and then a bigger roll here down the hill. I just run down this hill because what I want is to roll through this little pit right here. Same right there. Little 2 tiny rolls. I like to roll to this spot right here. This is my cue to jump, fly, and again, since we flew, as soon as we touch the hut, we'll be able to get our roll off. That's important. As soon as we touch ground, make sure you roll through the Kremlin that's coming at you. You should be able to roll through them and jump into this second bonus. So this second bonus is way easier than the first bonus. Again, we're going to start by holding Y, right, and B, which you should get a little bit familiar with now that we're on ice physics. Build up that early horizontal speed. Should land right in front of this bug, a little tiny roll, jump, roll across that whole platform, and then roll through these 2 Kremlins right there, and that should be that. When you come out of it, again, just like we did the first bonus, we're going to jump so we don't have to deal with building up speed on the ice. And then I believe it's at this dot that Dixie's like landing on right there. I'm going to try to get a roll, let it go as long as possible. And again, just like the other slopes, the uphill slopes, we want to fly so that as soon as we touch the ground, we're able to do our next action, which in this case is a jump. Want to get a roll through these 2 guys right here. If you did that setup right, you should be able to get a very long roll through them. So let me try to set up one more time for you, because this ending part comes at you pretty quick. So again, as soon as we land, we're gonna do a jump, and then roll at that dot, fly, jump, roll through those 2 guys. There's a snow pile that I start my next roll at. So the next roll, it's at the right side of the snow pile. That's where I roll through these 2 Kremlins up there, and then the ending part, which you're going to need speed to be able to do this properly, but I want to get a just defend, just like we did with the crimp at the beginning of the level. We can just defend through this crimp, and if you do it right with the right speed, what'll end up happening is you'll be able to take that momentum right to this side of the bottom of the hill without falling into the pit. You'll just land right here. You'll be able to roll, jump, fly to the top side of this, and then one more roll, jump to the flagpole there. Now, if you try this out and you have a lot of trouble with this just defend, again, this one it's tricky because you're not on the ground with him. You're going to be just defending mid-air into him. And if that, and it's at the end level, it's a little bit deeper into the run now compared to the first one, which is at the beginning of this level. So if you don't like this one as much, you can always just, I think it's like with the right speed from the other 2 Kremlins, I think you're able to just like roll, jump, and do something like that, something along those lines, essentially bailing out of the just defend, right? It's not that much slower to do it that way, so I can't blame you if you don't want to go for the final just defend. But that's this level in a nutshell. This one definitely takes a lot of practice. It's not the hardest level in the game, but the fact that we're doing the 2 just defends and some of this ice physics, and there's very particular setups. Like I make use of all these like snow piles and stuff like that on purpose, because this is one level where if you don't have those kind of setups, that lack of consistency will really showcase, you know, on any random run where, oh darn, this roll died here accidentally and now I'm dead, or oh it didn't make it there, or, you know, it's all these minor things. They can really cause a lot of death in this level, especially since we only have 1 Kong. However, it is important to only have 1 Kong because you will reduce some of the lag that occurs during this level. And again, overworld movement, to go from Tidal Trouble to this level to Murky Mill with all 1 Kong, you're definitely saving some time there as well. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial on Skidda's Row, and I'll see you next time for Murky Mill.